WWDC is set for this coming Monday, June 7th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and there's a lot that Apple is planning to unveil at the all-virtual event. In this video, we're going to go over everything you can expect to see at WWDC 2021. So let's start with the obvious. This is a developer conference after all, and so we will definitely be seeing new versions of iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS, and macOS. And I believe there's going to be a lot of new things here. And what makes this year more exciting than any other year is that we really haven't heard a whole lot about what to expect from the latest versions of these platforms. But here's what we have heard about iOS and iPadOS 15. iPhone and iPad users will be able to set notification preferences based on their status. So if you're awake, for example, you might set your iPhone to send notifications with sound, while sound might be disabled if you're sleeping. Users will be able to select from categories like driving, working, or sleeping, and there will be a feature for creating custom categories for handling incoming notifications in different ways, along with new settings for automatic replies. Menu options for selecting a mode will be available on the lock screen and in the control center. With messages, we are also expecting some new features to be introduced to better compete with apps like WhatsApp, but new features for iMessage remains largely unknown. An unconfirmed rumor has suggested that Apple is planning to add a new food tracking feature to the Health app, but it's not clear exactly how expansive that feature might be. It could allow users to log the food items that they consume, providing nutritional details and calorie tracking through a built-in database, or it could be something more simple where users are required to manually enter information. We've seen some minor interface changes spotted in screenshots of accessibility features coming in iOS 15, with Apple using inset cells and merged navigation bars in the Settings app. And these changes could also be brought to other areas of the operating system and kind of add a little bit of a, shake up to what you're currently used to seeing. Apple is also said to be making some minor tweaks to the colors that are used when an iPhone is in dark mode. From an accessibility standpoint, background sounds, which is an option that lets users play soothing sounds like ocean, rain, or just white noise to help drown out unwanted environmental noise. And assistive touch, another new feature, will let the Apple Watch be used without the need to touch the display or the controls. The optical heart rate sensor and an on-device machine learning will let Apple Watch detect subtle differences in muscle movement and tendon activity that will control a cursor on the screen through hand gestures like a pinch or a clench. Now, if we shift over to the iPad side, there's really not a lot that's known, but we do expect Apple to unveil a new home screen for the iPad that will let users place widgets pretty much anywhere throughout the home screen. An entire app grid will be replaceable with widgets on the iPad, which is a design that's already available on your iPhone. So yeah, as I mentioned, this has been a pretty tight-lipped WWDC so far, and information is scarce about the rest of the platforms as well. We have very little information about macOS, except that we can just obviously expect this year to be named after another California landmark, but we don't even know which landmark that's going to be. watchOS 8 will probably gain some of the features that iOS will be getting, like the notification updates and everything, and tvOS 15 will be a complete mystery as of right now, since we really haven't heard much of anything surrounding tvOS. A few days ago, Apple mistakenly referenced Home OS as an operating system in a job listing before later removing it. So there is that possibility that tvOS will then be renamed to Home OS, given that tvOS is the operating system that runs on both the Apple TV and the HomePod. It's also possible that the Home OS mention was just a mistake on Apple's part. As far as hardware goes, Apple is said to be working on new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models that could perhaps see a launch at WWDC. This rumor comes from leaker John Prosser. Other sources have pointed more broadly to a launch in the second half of the year and really haven't pinpointed June as a debut timeline for those new machines. It's not a long shot for Apple to launch hardware at WWDC. It's happened in the past, but it hasn't happened since 2017, and the event is primarily not focused on hardware but software. If we do see new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models, they would have a new design, a reintroduction of the MagSafe port, an added HDMI and SD card reader, as well as a few Thunderbolt 4 and USB-C ports. Apple is said to be removing the touch bar, returning to a row of function keys, and a redesigned thermal system is said to be included to accommodate the new upgraded Apple Silicon chips. Now, speaking of those chips, we should expect to hear more about the future of Apple Silicon, presumably the next chip called the M2 or maybe the M1X, but we're going to go with M2 here. Even if we don't end up seeing new hardware introduced at the event, we could still hear more information about the future of Apple Silicon. Apple is working on 10-core Apple Silicon chips for the MacBook Pro models, with the chips expected to include 8 high-performance cores and 2 energy-efficient cores, along with 16 or 32 core GPU options and support for up to 64 gigs of RAM. Last year, Apple unveiled details about Apple Silicon chips, but it was when developers needed to prepare for that transition to ARM technology, and that's not the case this year, so we could see nothing mentioned about the next generation until maybe a later date, but I'm still banking on that happening coming Monday. Apple plans to live stream the WWDC keynote on its website, the Apple TV app, and on YouTube. But for those unable to watch, we'll have coverage on MacRumors.com as well as the MacRumors Live Twitter account. But you can also expect to see a full breakdown of that event from me and some hands-on videos with the new betas next week. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.